Music is like root work. It writes your true name on a scrap of paper and makes you dance undignified like King David. This is the Hoodoo Music Podcast.
This is the Hoodoo Music Podcast, episode number 19, and the guest on this episode is a three-piece rock band from right here in Greenville, South Carolina. It's Sparrow's Point. What's up, guys?
Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, man, I'm good, and I'm glad to have you guys on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, definitely. Why don't you go around the circle and introduce yourselves?
I'm Brady. I do guitar and vocals.
I'm Andy. I play bass.
And I'm Dylan. I play the drums.
Cool. So, I don't want to get anything too serious just yet because we're going to have some music in just a second, but why don't we describe your sound for me?
It's kind of hard to explain. We all come from very eclectic music backgrounds, and I think that shows in our music. We've got everything from straight up guitar shredding intro, straight rock, to more laid back. I don't know. And we got some stuff that sounds like it's straight out of you'd hear at a castle or something. It sounds like it should be played on a mandolin, but Brady's just going crazy on the guitar. We make the music that sounds good to us, and we don't really stick to any one kind of genre.
But I think that gives us kind of our own sound in a way. It's not like we're jumping from song to song, entirely different genres, but
yeah.
I think it's just a pretty good mix of different sounds and styles that come together to make something, hopefully decent.
Yeah, and I think something cool is, because we've all been playing music for so long, and we all listen to such different music that the influences from all the different genres kind of melt into our playing. And
cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into influence and stuff like that a little bit later.
Okay.
Why don't we just go ahead and straight into some music? What's this first song? And tell us a little bit about it.
First song is Sterile. It's, I would say, more alternative pop punk in nature. But it's one of our more recent ones. It won't be on this first album. It'll be on the next one. But I don't know. I think it kind of reflects where our style is headed in a way. At least on this next album.
Well, maybe a little bit more. Like, what's kind of the song about, or like, what are you drawing from when you're writing it?
When a lot of it is just kind of personal experience, and it's songwriting for me, like lyrically, has always been a good way of kind of getting my thoughts out of my head so they don't drive me crazy. But this song is kind of about I don't know, not really feeling up to being out. Kind of, I don't know, not being in the mood. Is kind of the simplest way I would describe it, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
I'd also like to point out that in the bridge, I wrote a line. First line I've ever written, and it made it into the song.
It did.
It is, "I'm a walking laceration," and I'm a fan of it, if I do say so myself.
It's his. Lyrics by Brady Scott and Dylan Tortora.
Yeah. Put my name in the credits, man.
Oh, well.
Nice.
Swallow my pride and a barrel, trade it for a blade, however far that's narrow. Something like in the stomach.
You guys are all pretty young. Like, how did you meet?
Dylan and I actually met at church a while back. At I guess it was like a at-home retreat. We were playing this game outside, and we actually met with our shirts off. So that's
It's a good omen.
It is a good omen. Yeah, I think it speaks volumes about about our friendship.
A funny story about that. The game we were playing, like, it was called Zombies, and you had to chase after people. If you didn't have your shirt on, you had to chase people that had shirts on, right? And Brady was wearing skinny jeans because he was getting into his scene phase. I think it was probably like 8th grade.
It was starting to bloom,
and I hadn't been like exposed to this thing called scene. I think you were my first exposure.
Oh, wow.
You tainted him.
Yeah.
Guilty.
But I thought he was so freaking cool, man. I'm like, he's got tight pants on. He's got a cool haircut. And
I was cool.
He's wearing a beanie, man. This guy's so cool. So we're running together. And he looks at me, he goes, man, I hate running in skinny jeans. And me being, this nerdy little guy who's never worn skinny jeans, I look at him, I'm like, I know exactly what you mean. and then, 7-8 years later?
Yeah. Because, I guess we kind of became friends. Like, we saw each other around church, and then we ended up in the same small group. Kind of out of chance, I was like, hey, that's a guy.
Yeah.
And we became friends. I started going over to his house, bringing my guitar and everything, and we just kind of jammed because you had just started playing drums like 6 months or a year before I met you. So you were still pretty new at it. But that's kind of how our friendship / musical, our friendship has always kind of been a musical one, though. That was what we did half the time. So, that's kind of how we met. The rest is history, I suppose.
You forgot about Andy.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring in. I was just talking about us.
Waiting to butt in.
But I was gonna let you tell that because I met Andy through you.
Yeah, I met Andy my junior year of high school. I think he was coming in as a freshman, and I was in the marching band, and I was on drumline, and he was in the marching band pit. If you don't know what pit is, it's just like the percussion stuff right in front. And he was like one of the young guys in drumline, and I was one of the more experienced ones. And he was very awkward and didn't want to talk to anyone, and I spoke to everyone, so I had to break him out of his shell. And he was an ass at first.
Was I?
He was an ass at first.
Was I?
He was an ass, yeah. He's still an ass, but he's
but he's our ass.
He is our ass.
I didn't know anybody, and he kind of walked up to me and started talking to me.
Yeah.
And I remember he was really good at drums, and I sucked. And so I kind of admired him because of how good he was. This god, and I followed him around. It's kind of funny now that I think about it.
Dylan is a drum god.
Oh no! Stop! Stop! But I was friends with Andy for maybe a year and a half or so, and Brady and I were looking to expand ourselves as a band. We've been playing together, just guitar and drums for a long while, but it wasn't right without bass, and it was hard finding a bassist that we really vibed with, because that's an important part of music. You gotta be able to vibe with your band members.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I just happened to mention it in passing to Andy, and I knew him as a guitarist and a saxophone player.
Yeah, sax player.
And I brought up that we were looking for a bassist, and he was like, "Dude," he's like, "I play bass." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Since when do you play bass?" And then he went out and he bought himself a bass amp, and we sent him a couple songs, told him how to play them, and then he came to practice, and we just started there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So now it's Sparrow's Point.
Now it's Sparrow's Point, yeah.
With an apostrophe, right?
Yeah, with
an apostrophe.
With an apostrophe.
Where's that name come from? How did that come about?
That is actually the name of my neighborhood, where I currently live. But that's just kind of where a lot of the songwriting took place, and we kind of shot off a couple different ideas about street names or whatever, just because it's more unique as far as personal to us, and it's very hard to find a band name that isn't already a band name.
Yeah.
So that was
fair enough.
Yeah, that was I think the best option for us was to go with something that was very personal. So we kind kind of threw around like Dylan's street name and his neighborhood name because that's where we practice. So we thought that was kind of cool. But we did have our first gig in my neighborhood. So and that's actually where we finally kind of put the nail in the coffin with the name, because we were kind of toying around with it. We were like, I guess that was kind of our final decision, but we played at my sister's graduation party, and my dad's like, so how do you want me to introduce you guys? And we were like, Sparrow's Point.
Just go with Sparrow's Point. Yeah.
So that was kind of when it solidified.
Yeah, and
It's cool.
yeah, it's definitely grown on me too.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first.
We kind of decided on it because we had to.
Yeah.
We had to come up with a name then.
Yeah.
But we were so sick of trying to come up with one that we were just like, you know what, it works, we like it, and it's unique. So, yeah.
So this next song, what's it called? What's it about?
Bliss is, I think about. I wrote it when I turned 18. So it's kind of
like
about
a year ago.
Yeah, like a year ago, basically. But it was one of those things, kind of like it's almost a coming of age song, where you kind of realize that you have to kind of grow up in a way, and that you can't, all that. Not that you're done learning, but all that youth, it's kind of gone in a way, and you can't necessarily get it back. So it's more of it's kind of a bittersweet nostalgia and a little bit of regret. Just how you don't always cherish your youth. You always want to grow up until you actually grow up.
Yeah.
And you kind of miss being young. Just for the.
Yeah, I miss being young every day, man.
Just there's a lot of naivety that goes with it that I definitely started missing when I kind of grew older. So that's kind of the premise of that one, I guess.
It's definitely one of our jazzier songs.
It is definitely one of the more jazz inspired songs.
Yeah.
What I would give to be a child again. What I would do to be wild and free, to be that naive, presenting there's some man in the clouds, and there's still something that shrouds my mind, that still keeps me blind to the truth. But there is no going back. The veil is pierced by the cold-hearted blade of the cold-hard facts. That ignorance to flower, better left in the soil. Knows meant to empower, so battles to spoil. Once the body's uprooted, it is left with no way to bloom. What could I give to have faith again? What could I do to repay this debt, to rescind this bed of gangster-signed existence and true divine subsistence? I wrote what I found when no longer bound to my guilt. There is no going young. The terror hurts in control.
So, what are the kind of the influences you guys draw from besides, all the ASMR videos on YouTube?
I would say, I know Dylan and I are fans of jazz. Me, I think more recently, I've gained a very big respect for jazz, and the influence it has on a lot of different types of music. I think, I know just straight up alternative rock, a little bit of jazz, I think a little bit of post-hardcore, even a little bit of like progressive stuff. I don't know. I know Andy likes a little bit of his prog rock.
I love some prog, man. We both do.
Yeah.
You can't beat animals as leaders, man.
I agree with that. They're incredible. They do things that I didn't know was possible on instruments.
Yeah.
It seems like the biggest comparison I can see is like My Chemical Romance is probably
that I definitely listened to them.
Yeah. That's true, though.
Definitely did. I actually got Dylan into them in recent years because he obviously, who hasn't heard of them, but he had never really given them a shot.
God,
I guess
he showed me Dead.
showed you the light.
Yeah, I did.
The first, I remember back in middle school, he showed me Dead off of
Black Parade.
Black Parade, yeah. And I just fucking hated it.
And I don't understand that.
I don't know why. Looking back,
looking back, you have no idea because it's a great song.
Maybe because that's I was in a super heavy.
That's true. You liked really heavy music.
I was into. That was probably around the time I was into Alisana.
Yeah, that's why you have the double kick pedal.
Yeah, Alisana and Avenged Sevenfold. That's why I had the double kick pedal.
You loved your A7X and Disturbed.
Oh yeah,
you loved Disturbed. You really did.
Asylum's a great album, right?
Oh man.
What about you, Andy?
My Chemical Romance.
I'm into jam bands, man. That's how it's always been.
Yeah, you look
Widespread Panic.
Yeah, you
Fish,
look like the Fish and
Grateful
Widespread
Dead,
Panic.
No, all of them, yeah, that's me.
Nice. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, a lot of that is pretty bass heavy music.
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure.
it's about getting up and moving.
He likes Steel Panther too.
Oh yeah, love them.
Well, what shapes the sound that you? Because obviously everybody plays what they want to hear.
Sure. I think it just comes down to the fact that we all just love music, kind of for music's sake. So, because I kind of write the basis of the song, so I'll get the lyrics together and the basic, chord structure and kind of the flow of the song, and then I'll bring it to them, and we kind of, think about dynamics and stops and specific parts. So I think I kind of come up with the basic vibe, but then that's obviously subject to change. There are a lot of songs that started very differently than they've turned out. One of our songs that you're not going to hear, called "Dust," was that's been a tricky. It's been a tricky song for us.
Still
but
not finished.
It definitely started as a bit more alternative, aggressive. That riff I wrote a couple years ago. But it's definitely more jazzy, funk, post-hardcore.
I mean, it's straight up jazz, and it's got some Latin feel to it, and then all of a sudden there's a build and a breakdown, and you're like, whoa.
And I think that's why it was so difficult for us, is because there isn't really one style in it,
It's
and that's
3 songs at once.
Yeah, and that's I think that's why I like the song, but at the same time it was difficult for us because we were kind of torn with where we wanted to take it.
Yeah.
But we kind of took it everywhere. So I hope that people enjoy it because it kind of takes you on a journey between different, styles, or takes on styles, I guess.
We don't really go into a song thinking this is what it's going to be. We mess around with it. We try different things, different guitar licks or bass riffs or drum fills or beats or anything, until we all look at each other and we're like, ooh,
It's like, yeah.
like that part sounded
Yeah, that
good.
moment, you're like, yeah,
that
that's
part
it.
sounded good. Yeah.
There's like a moment where it clicks and we're like, oh, we need to do something.
Like that's what this song needs, you know.
Yeah.
And we just keep working on
Yeah,
songs.
and that's usually, I
until-
think that's usually the basis for when we kind of know where we're taking it as
Yeah.
far as stylistically and all that. We kind of have that aha moment.
Yeah.
Because we start with kind of, you know, I kind of play it for them and then like, okay. And then they kind of jump in and we start, you know, fiddling around with different stuff. And then like Dylan will do something, I'll look at him and be like, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. You know, and you know, Andy will play something and be like, "Oh, that's what I'm talking about."
Yeah.
That's why you're the guy on the bass.
It's nice because I feel like for us at least, it's a very organic process.
Yeah,
and
I think that's why it's hard to explain is because
Yeah.
you just kind of have to be there in the
kinda
room when
Yeah,
it happens.
it's like Andy always says, like,
Songs inspire themselves.
yeah,
yeah, they almost write themselves after we kind of find it. It kind of just goes from there.
we put down the bass of
cool.
it, and then the rest of it we just feel it out. Yeah.
Well, what's this next one? Tell us about it.
Next one is Waste, and
It's pop punk.
It is definitely pop punk as far as where we drew from style. When I came up with, you know, the melody and kind of was hearing it in my head, I was like, this is the drum beat I want for it. So I went and I was like, Dylan, I've got a new song, but this is what, like, and I don't try to tell him what to play, but I was like, this is what I want that feel. And I kind of explained it. I think I mentioned another song or something. He was like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And he started playing it. I was like, yes. And then it just kind of went from there. But that song is
Very tiring to play.
it is very tiring to play for you. That song is very personal to me specifically because of my religious ties in the past. That song is very much kind of an internal struggle for me, I guess, as far as my beliefs, I guess is the simplest way to put it. Yeah, it's kind of the internal doubts that a lot of people have, especially, you know, religious people. I think that's the simplest way to put it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Society
next one is Andy rubbing.
Just like, making weird mouth noises.
Yeah.
Welcome back. We've missed. We hope you enjoyed our last song. Very upbeat, very fast. We're gonna slow it down.
So what's next? What's next for Sparrow's Point? Because you guys have, there's a lot of talent, and you seem very conscious of the process. What you're doing. So what's your next step? And what's your end goal?
Man.
The end goal.
The end goal is to play music
The
as
end goal
much as possible.
For all of us, I think, is just to play music and not have to worry about
Play
money.
music with friends.
Yeah,
That's
like
what it's all about.
I couldn't care less about being famous and playing for millions of people.
We're not doing it to get famous or even to make money. Obviously, a lot of people don't play music to make money. Because it is
between a musician and a pizza.
That's right. It's difficult to make money as a musician, but we know that, and that's not why we're doing it. We genuinely just love music, and we really just want to be able to play and not have to have jobs.
Yeah.
As in, secondary jobs. We want it to be our primary source of income, but not to have luxurious things, but just to where we have food.
Yeah.
and a place to live, and we get to play music. I'm happy
We're not living
if
out of
we
our van.
exactly.
Our
I'm
van
I'm happy if I'm playing music, and not living on the street.
Yeah. That's like my goal. I want to be able to play music and make enough money to support a family, live in a decent house, have a decent car.
You don't want to live in a van down by the river?
No, believe it or not, no.
Well, so that's kind of the end goal. What's the next step towards that goal?
Getting our album out.
Yeah, I think
next
that's
step is just getting an album out and playing as many shows as we possibly can.
Sure.
Getting as much publicity and just playing shows.
I think we just need to get our name out there. Is really, and I think the album is the best next step for that. Because we're working on recording that right now. So I think once we get that out, we're gonna be able to play a lot more and be able to. I don't want to say advertise, but
Be like, hey, you like our music? Look,
exactly.
we
It's
got
a
an
lot
album.
easier to be like, oh, you like the way we sound? Well, here's a place where you can listen to us, instead of be like, oh, well, here's our next show in a month.
Yeah.
Try not to forget about it.
An hour
Stranger.
and a half away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when you have it on something like Spotify, where anybody can pull it up.
Anyone in the world can just stumble upon it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even stumble upon it. They don't,
Sure.
listening to somebody similar, and it comes on next, and they check out the rest of your stuff. So I think, I think the next point is just getting music recorded, to be able to have something more concrete to share with people.
Yeah.
And then playing as much as we can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's always kind of like a big important part of it is being able to book shows and travel around a bit. Well, so you had one more song for us.
Yeah. Commit. Commit is.
Everyone's favorite song from us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like it. It seems to go over pretty well. It's kind of like, it's definitely dated as far as style goes, because I think back to like the 50s, 60s, like very, very early rock and roll. Not doo-wop, but kind of that same era.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit, I don't know, we kind of put our own rock flair to it at the same time. It's kind of a fusion of that. It's not just a straight doo-wop song by any means, but it definitely has that kind of little influence, like something maybe Elvis-esque.
Yeah.
But mixed with it's definitely modern.
Well, it's because it's kind of a waltz, right?
Yeah, in a way, yeah, it is. It is in a three,
Yeah.
6/8 time signature.
I think it's just a fun song to listen to as well.
And I think it jives well. Or
Yeah.
can I say jives? Is that a word that still exists in 2017? Apparently. But I don't know. I think the fact that it's in 6/8 definitely helps, just because it's I don't know, and that bass line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a juicy little bass line.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Andy.
No problem.
But that one is kind of about it's again kind of an internal struggle, but it's more of I don't know what the best way to say it is.
It's like how you look at yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely more of that, your own internal monologue. And not everybody deals with it in the same way or to the same severity, but everybody has self-doubt and things that they don't like about themselves, or that voice that's kind of nagging in the back of their head. So I thought it would be kind of interesting. Something I like to do is to take a song that is kind of inherently happy sounding, and put darker lyrics
Very
to
depressing
it,
lyrics, yeah.
because it's a nice juxtaposition, and it's not expected. So you hear the bass line, and then the guitar kick in, and then the chorus is obviously a bit unexpected lyrically, and I think that's part of the fun of it. And it it's definitely in a second person point of view, kind of getting in your own head.
It's like it's almost like you're yelling at yourself.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's you're singing as the voice in your head.
Yeah.
And I think that writing that song helped me recognize the voice in my own head, to where I can better know when I'm hearing it. Not that I'm schizophrenic. I guess I explained that poorly, but
Oh, hang your head low, or hang it up high. You always wondered what it was to fly. Can't you should? You simply need to. Can't you what it takes to kill the wandering mind or watering eye? If you're waiting for answers, you're wasting your time, because nobody loves you, nobody cares for you, no one above you gave up their truth. Nobody, no one at all. Nobody wants you, you're a disaster. Nobody loves you, you're still a bastard. Nobody, no one at all. Fall to the concrete and follow apart. Dragging your feet won't get you very far. You ever contemplating it, are you forgetting to come into the void? For some, it's a lost art. Take what's rightfully yours, or is breaking what's left of your heart. Nobody wants you, nobody cares for you, no one above you gave up their truth. Nobody, no one at all.
Guys, I want to thank you so much for coming out on the show. I really enjoyed having you out here and recording the session and all that kind of stuff. Thanks so much for coming out.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Thanks for having us, man. It was
But-
fun.
Absolute blast.
Where can people find you, like online, all that kind of stuff?
Right now, Facebook is what we use primarily. I think we're looking into Instagram here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then potentially SoundCloud.
What's the Facebook URL?
I think it's just facebook.com/Sparrows Point Band.
Yeah, I think it's Sparrows Point Band. Is the apostrophe in the URL?
Can't do
Not in
that.
the URL.
Yeah, I didn't
but,
think so. Yeah, I was about to say.
But if you search,
don't
I think
it's
if
in
you
there.
search for Sparrows Point with an apostrophe, just in searching it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
searching
yeah.
it on Facebook, you will absolutely
that
find
apostrophe is important.
it. It is actually important when you search it on Facebook. We found out
Yeah.
when I told somebody once and they didn't have the apostrophe and they actually weren't able to find it. So that's the only reason that we kind of harp on it is because it is important to us. Obviously, there's a reason that it's there.
It's
but
kind of an inside joke too.
it is kind of an inside joke at this point. But
I think I told you before. I think you ought to, name the first album, with an
definitely,
apostrophe.
With an
we're
apostrophe.
definitely considering that. I think that's one of the top. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming out. And this show is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. The easiest way to subscribe is to go to bit.ly/Hoodoo Music Podcast. If that's too hard to remember, YOLO420.com/local band swag. It is a real link and it really does work.
That's what I'm talking about.
You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Mark Jones Audio, and of course this show has a Facebook page, but all of that is at those links, so just go to one of those. Now make sure you guys check out Sparrows Point, follow them, go check out a show. They play out at the Radio Room, stuff like that occasionally, so make sure you go check them out, because like I've started to always say on here, like these bands, they deserve to be heard, and you've got friends, right? Your friends deserve good music. So take your friends to shows, tell them about these bands, tell them, invite them to like Facebook pages, tell them about this podcast. It's a great way to learn and see some profiles on local bands, that sort of thing. But until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Hoodoo Music Podcast.